Greetings, friends. Greetings, community. As lies and false narratives and questionable concepts begin to mount in the media, we have to find a way to be able to flashlight these things and really expose these things and just talk about what's going on. Right now, there's a lot of talk about the southern border, allowing migrants to come in through the southern border. Let me talk about that a little bit because, this goes back to Bush. Bush was the one who said, we need to allow a certain amount of migration to the southern border because we need people to do the work that Americans won't do. So this is where the first false concept and narrative comes in, because there's no such thing as work that Americans won't do. There is pay and there are work conditions and labor conditions that Americans won't take. And they won't take it because their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, their great-great-grandparents paid for that, paid for them to have fair working conditions and fair wages. So when you have these policies of just let everybody come in to take the work Americans won't take, there's no such thing as work Americans won't take. What you're saying is, you're really saying you want to move the American workforce off to the perimeters. You want to put them way out to the edges of eternity to bring in a whole new labor force that has no concept of labor laws, that doesn't know what your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents paid sometimes with their lives for. So it's a win-win for corporations, because corporations can just continue on their path of greed and continue to offer lower and lower wages and demand more and more production. Yeah, so we've got to look through this concept of open the borders, because it's more than anything, it must be a corporate policy in which corporations are influencing major political figures and legislation, and even the President of the United States. They're influencing them to be able to adopt or to want to adopt these policies, rather than look at, and this has nothing to do with ethnicity, this has to do with the mathematics of the issue. The mathematics of the issue is that when you have a large number of people who are actually American citizens who aren't employed, can't find employment, and you suddenly start moving them all out the way. So we want to point that out. The other thing I want to point out is that this whole concept of, you hear in the media this sort of thread of you need an injection to be healthy. That's so far from the truth. And yet it seems to be paraded around as if it's just commonly to be accepted. No, and everybody needs to just be very vocal and very clear about that. That has not been proven. We've had millions of years of human enterprise in which injections have not been involved at all. And we have developed the most immensely powerful and magical immune systems. So technological advancement is what's natural in our immune systems, our natural immune systems. So, this whole concept of you need injection, that's another false narrative that we need to really be calling out left and right. False narrative, right? The other thing that I really want to talk about is, this Biden campaign, because he's not campaigning. President Biden is not campaigning. He's just walking in. Like, maybe you just keep doing what you're doing, and, you don't have to say anything to the American people about, While in the meantime, while he's not campaigning, the Democratic Party is shutting down the pathways by which other people can run for president, other really strong contenders. They're shutting down the pathways. So everyone needs to be aware of that. While at the same time they're shutting down the pathways, they're also encouraging for more mail-in voters and more people to be able to, say, stand across the street with a paper airplane and cast their vote. So, there's this concern. Everyone should be concerned about it. That's AI, artificial intelligence. What happens if AI decides at 3 or 4 a.m. that they want to come in and cast a vote too? or cast a lot of votes. So these are all things that really need to be brought up and focused on. And again, this is just the mathematics of the situation. It has nothing to do with any other left or right policies or whatever. It's just, and probably the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that I grew up in a Democratic household. I grew up around Democrats. But my dad, he was, big in the Democratic Party. So I have a strong sense of what that Democrat spirit, the spirit of that Democratic Party was about. And it was largely influenced by the Civil Rights Movement. And it was largely paid for by civil rights leaders. I'll name one, Fannie Lou Hamer. If you don't know who she is, look her up. Fannie Lou Hamer paid for a lot of what the Democratic Party, the vibe, the swag, right? So did Martin Luther King, paid for a lot of the swag of the Democratic Party. Bobby Kennedy Sr. paid for a lot of the swag of the Democratic Party, right? Which is why, I feel very closely related to what RFK Jr. is saying, because a lot of what he's talking about, this is stuff I saw, this is stuff I saw as a kid, being around the real spirit of the Democratic Party. So when we see these things the Democratic Party today is doing, it sounds to me like a group of tyrants have hijacked the Democratic Party. It really does. I'm just telling you, it may seem a little funny the way I'm describing it, but hey, compared to what the spirit of the Democratic Party I grew up seeing, this is what it looks like. I keep hearing these, woke ideas like, kids having the choice to make these choices that their parents should be making. The number one job of the land, the number one office of the land starts with a P, but it's not president, it's parent. Parent is the highest office of the land, and the work of the parent is to make sure that that child from 0 to 18 or whatever the age it is gets through that time period alive, very healthy, very intelligent, very aware, very able, capable of doing something about it. That's the number one job of the parent. And when the parents are doing that, then we are ensured a future. We're ensured a bright day in the future. So when you have laws that suddenly, or ideas or concepts that these children have to make their own decision, that goes against the number one work of society, right? It's a very good way to start destroying and decoupling the work that it takes to really develop a strong society. We have to really be aware of that and really question that. These other policies that the Democratic Party is talking about, I talked about some already. So anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about for now, even though there's more. Thank you. One love. One love.